This series, Today's Professional Supervisor, has been developed with both the new and experienced supervisor in mind. We've tried to emphasize the needs and realities of your working world because we know that you are continually faced with the challenge of building a productive work team, as well as realizing the hopes and plans of top management. It's our intention to help you, the supervisor, face this challenge with special understanding of your role and the tools available to you. Therefore, throughout this program, we'll present basic principles which can be adapted to the specific problems of your own organization. During and after each presentation, there will be further opportunity for you to apply these principles to your own situation. And the participant workbook is filled with ideas to help you become a more professional supervisor. Our series has two main components: dramatized, real-world situations and presentations on the important principles of supervision. We're fortunate to have with us a talented team of management specialists from Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia. Dr. Robert Fulmer is the Director of Executive Education in the School of Business Administration. Dr. Stephen Franklin is Associate Professor of Business Administration. These two gentlemen are the authors of the highly acclaimed business text, Supervision, Principles of Professional Management, which is based on this series. In a few minutes, we'll be meeting and following the activities of three new supervisors in quite different divisions of an organization. But right now, let's join Bob Fulmer for our first presentation, Welcome to the World of Management.
Effective supervision is of the utmost importance in every organization, except perhaps a partnership or a one-person business where there are no employees. Whether a business or organization is large or small, the need for supervision is always present. Most people think of a supervisor as someone who directs subordinates but has little or no administrative responsibility, and a manager as being higher in the organization and directing supervisors or other managers. Throughout this series, we'll use the terms interchangeably because good supervisors aspire to ultimately join the management team. Our definition of a manager or supervisor is simply someone who is responsible for directing the performance of one or more people so that organizational goals are accomplished. As a business grows and gathers more people than the top person can handle, a layer of supervisors will be added. In a very large organization, there may be a need for 10 or more levels between workers and the top executive. It may surprise you to know that about 1/8 of all employed persons serve in a supervisory capacity. So the question basically comes down to, where do you find good professional management? Well, you can't order them from a catalog. People with excellent potential have to train, talk, study, and practice. And that's what this program is all about. You'll be given the opportunity to do these things during the sessions we spend together. Right, Steve?
That's right, Bob. And first, let's take our definition of a supervisor, someone responsible for the work of a group of people, and expand it a bit. Supervisors are also responsible for creating and maintaining an environment in which individuals can work smoothly toward desired goals. A supervisor has to get staff working and working productively. Also, supervisors must work with and for various people, making sure that they have the information and materials necessary to do their jobs. Besides that, communicating a profit objective to line workers requires the finest communication skills and the clearest managerial understanding. When your workers are clear about their individual goals, the company's overall goals, and the relationship between those two, then you are a truly professional manager. I guess that's a good definition in 25 words or less, isn't it, Bob?
Well, it certainly begins to describe the total functions of a supervisor and why the job is so challenging.
And that challenge and excitement comes from needing to wear many different hats. First, a supervisor is a creator of surroundings. You create surroundings in which people feel like working at their top potential and getting as much satisfaction as they can from them. Here are at least 6 things you can do to bring satisfaction to your workers. First, provide goals. Carefully outline and explain objectives so that everyone understands them. Next, define goals. Give workers a definite idea of their roles in the organization. They must understand them and recognize the kinds of personal judgment they can apply to the operations. Also, workers must have access to the information and tools necessary for the job. Next, remove obstacles. If a supervisor can't solve critical problems that stand in the way of a worker's effective performance, he should ask an immediate supervisor for help. Provide procedures. Encourage workers to do their jobs as the supervisor wants them to. It must be clear that certain procedures exist because they are the most effective ones. Consider people. Be aware that subordinates are people with needs and desires to be considered. Don't make anyone feel like a cog in a huge machine. And finally, listen to your people. Many workers may have useful ideas for solutions to problems, and their working surroundings should stimulate them to express these ideas so that more answers can be found as more people participate in making decisions. As a creator of surroundings, you should be able to do all 6 of these things. Next, the supervisor is a catalyst. Now, if you'll remember from science classes, a catalyst is an element that generates a chemical reaction. When certain materials are combined, a catalyst is introduced, things begin to happen. In business, the supervisor is the catalyst. A successful catalytic supervisor moves calmly and methodically without personally doing the workers' jobs for them. The third hat you wear is person in the middle. You're in the middle of everything as a supervisor. You aren't a member of the labor force and may not be a member of management, yet supervisors must represent the company and enforce its policies. Now let's be blunt. Labor and top management are often suspicious of one another, but without one, there probably wouldn't be the other, and both might find themselves without jobs if the supervisor doesn't do an effective job of representing the needs of each to the other. Next, we have the supervisor as a historian. You must learn from the past, learn what worked and what didn't work. We all learn from those we've worked for. If you have a capable and enlightened boss, you have a real advantage over the person who can only see how things shouldn't be done. However, if you have real potential, you can learn from bad experiences as well as good and apply these lessons to the situations you'll face. Here's another hat you'll wear as supervisor, psychologist. Now, you're probably not going to hang out your shingle and go into practice, but you do need to understand what makes people behave as they do. Your job isn't to manipulate or overpower workers, but to combine new theories about human behavior with a common sense understanding of people. Then you motivate them by understanding their importance and the underlying causes of their behavior. You are also a sociologist. You need to be interested in groups of people as well as individuals. You should know how people work together to develop certain attitudes and patterns of actions. Well, being aware of these attitudes and actions can help you function better as a supervisor, but you're also expected to be a professional decision maker. You must decide major issues on what to buy, what to sell, size of inventory, whom to hire. You are not a casual decision maker. You are paid more than your subordinates because you're expected to make bigger and more responsible decisions. And here's your final hat as a supervisor, scientific manager. You must be a virtual scientist to do the job well. You devise and test new answers to old problems. You have an extensive understanding of the underlying factors that cause problems and make solutions work. Still, knowledge isn't enough. You have to apply this knowledge to everyday problems in your supervision. Now, that's a lot of hats to wear, and we want all of them to look good on you.
Well, we want them to be comfortable, too. Supervision requires considerable knowledge and an understanding of human behavior patterns. Furthermore, the supervisor of each department must be able to match personal activities with the company's other supervisors. You'll be both coordinator and diplomat. It may be encouraging, though, to know that as you build your professional management skills, you'll find that your talents are in demand in every type of organization. Religious groups, educational institutions, government agencies, social clubs, and even families require the skills you're building now. These sessions are for anyone who plans to work with other people in order to get things accomplished.
As you think about the awesome demands placed on a supervisor, you may have begun to realize some of the conflict that is unavoidably built into the job. To help you determine where some of the challenge begins, it will be helpful to think about the following questions. A, what does the organization expect of a supervisor? B, what do employees expect of a supervisor? Compare your answer to these two questions. Do you see any conflicts? Take some time to complete the first section of your workbook. Follow the instructions there, and we'll see you back here in a few minutes. One factor that helps determine if a new supervisor will get off to a good start is how that person was chosen and then introduced to the work group. Employees can be very sensitive to the fairness of the methods used in making the selection, and they quickly form strong opinions of the new boss based on early impressions. You're going to see 3 people chosen to be supervisors. As you observe each situation, put yourself into the shoes of the new supervisor and be thinking of what questions you would ask and what directions you would take. This first scene is probably the most common type of situation where a worker is promoted because of outstanding performance.
You wanted to see me, Jim?
Oh, hi, Lynn. Yeah, come on and sit down. I'll be finished here in a second. July. Okay. Lynn, I don't know if you've heard yet or not, but I've been asked to take Jack's old position in the controller's office. They want me to start next Monday.
Oh, that's wonderful, Jim. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Oh, but we're sure going to miss you around here.
Well, I'm telling you before the others because I think that you're the best one in our group to take over as supervisor.
Oh, golly, Jim, I'm flattered, but... Well, why me? I mean, there are other people I know that want the job, and a lot of them have been here longer than I have.
Well, that's true, Lynn, but I have faith in you. Your work here has been exceptional, quite a bit above the others. You're prompt, you're reliable, and you have a knack for getting along with just about anybody, and that's an asset for any good supervisor. I really think that you're the logical choice for this job.
Wow. Well, it's sure going to change my working relationship with some of my friends. Oh, boy, I hope I can pull it off.
I don't anticipate any problems at all. There'll be some adjustments to make sure, but I think that you can handle them. I'd like you to start on Monday. That'd be all right?
Sure, I guess so. When are you going to make the announcement?
How about right now? It'll give everybody a chance to get used to the idea.
Okay, but be prepared for some rumblings. I know George expected to get this job. I mean, he's been talking about his upcoming promotion for a long time now.
Yeah, I know. George is a real talker, but he'll just have to get used to it. Come on.
Jim has just promoted his best worker, and they're both going to face an interesting situation. Consider the following questions which are listed in your workbook. 1, what should Jim say to the group to help Lynn get off to a good start? 2, what will Lynn's greatest challenges be in the first few weeks on the job as supervisor? 3, what will George be feeling and how will he be likely to react? 4, if you were Lynn, what would you do to get George's support? Now let's look at a second situation. Marvin Dunlop retired early from the military to try his hand at industry. He has been most effective in bringing a failing department into line. The personnel manager now has another assignment for him.
So you see, Marv, Frank McDowell really does need your help down there in that lab section. Straighten out some of the problems down there. They have been way below acceptable production levels for a long time now. And I think someone with your kind of strong approach will be able to handle it. How about it?
Well, Miss Hall, I'd love to take a crack at it. Yeah, I think that some of my no-nonsense approaches will get them up to acceptable productivity levels in no time, just like I straightened out the quality control people. Come to think of it, I've seen some of those lab types just lounging around and taking it easy. I got a feeling they're going to respond real well to a little of my convincing.
Okay, Marv, but I don't want any grievances on my hands, especially when we're hearing noises now about a union. Now remember, always be fair.
No problem. I read the policies and procedures manual every night before bed.
That's reassuring. No, you've got a tough job ahead of you, but I'm confident you can handle it. How about starting in 2 weeks?
It sounds fine by me. I get back to the department, and I'll start cleaning up a couple of things and breaking in my replacement.
Good. I'll tell Frank you'll be joining him. He will be so happy to hear that.
Good.
And I think I'll get the two of you together within the next couple of days, and maybe you can have a short briefing session.
When a job isn't being done well by a supervisor or a manager, an efficient company will usually find someone who can get the desired results. But in this case, there could be trouble ahead. Based on what you've seen, consider these questions. Number 1, how is news of Marvin's coming likely to be received by the new work group? Number 2, what should Marvin say to his new employees when he first meets with them? Number 3, if you were Marvin, what agreements would you want to have with your new manager, Frank McDowell? Once you're in the supervisory management ranks, you're in a position to make your own hiring decisions. We often see managers recruiting former colleagues and employees from a previous company simply because they had positive working relationships with them before and want to continue them in a new setting. Bert Atkins had only been at his new company as a manager for a few months when one of his supervisors for the data processing staff was transferred to another division. None of the applicants seemed to be what he had in mind, so he decided to meet an old buddy of his to do a little friendly recruiting.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. I tell you, Bert, ever since you left, things just haven't been the same around the department. I mean, we all miss you. And ever since Susan was promoted into your old job, she's been so uptight. I mean, she takes everything, including herself, too seriously. I don't know. I mean, do you think that she'll relax once she sees that she can trust us?
Oh, yeah, she'll get into it. Takes a while to get used to any new job. I'm not completely settled in mine yet. There's so many changes I want to make.
Well, how's it really going, Bert? I mean, have things worked out the way that you thought they would?
Yeah, pretty good so far. Got a great bunch of people working for me, as long as I keep watching over them all the time. No, nothing's ever perfect. You know how that is, but I'm working on it. No, what I miss most of all are the good times we had with the old gang. That's why I asked to see you today, Paul. I want to talk to you away from the walls with ears. I'm going to be able to make that offer we talked about.
Really?
Yeah, one of my best supervisors got transferred to another area, and I think the spot would be perfect for you. You know, you're getting kind of stale where you are now. You need to get in a different area. You could do that working with me.
Well, now, you know, Bert, I would be interested in moving for the right job and the right salary.
You know, I could spring for maybe 10 to 20% more than you're getting now, but even better than that, you'd be in a better career path for advancement. I can guarantee that.
I don't know, Bert. I've heard that your supervisors have some mighty heavy loads. What size group would I have?
Well, it'd be more than the 10 you've got now. Let's see, each section has 18 operators, but maybe we could do something about that. I mean, you've got to work a little harder for that raise you're going to get. No, I really need you, Paul. What do you say?
Well, I hate to leave DLT during our busy period, but I've missed our good times too, Bert. So, okay, I'll come. But I'll need to give a month's notice. I mean, it'll take me that long to get my department squared away and get my replacement trained.
A month. That's rough, Paul. But I gotta respect you wanting to leave things right. And it's worth it to have you back with me again. I'll make out somehow in the meantime. Hey, we both better get back before all hell breaks loose. I'll call you tomorrow to firm this up. Paul, you've made my day.
Now that the agreements have been made, Paul can look forward to some challenges on the new job. He may be a seasoned supervisor, but he's in for some different experiences. Reviewing what you heard and saw, answer these questions. 1, what expectations does Paul have of his new job based on this discussion? 2, What can you predict about the success Paul will have with his new subordinates? 3, what will Paul's fellow supervisors in the new job think about his appointment?